Hear us when we call upon you and saying, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Precious.
So, don't worry, I'm not gonna make it long. It's gonna be short.
Short is like an hour and a half.
No, I have to give another one somewhere else at one. So, okay. So I totally forgot about that. I have to do the meeting till I texted Irene by chance early last week, and she told me, "Hey, yeah, you're up next week." And then Osama told me, "Yeah, you're next week." Then I was like listening to a couple of sermons from Abuna Dawood and reading a couple of things. One of the topics that came up, I mean, was mainly directed toward like youth ministry, right? So there was like a bunch of topic of series, and that was the first one of them, and it's about changing yourself, okay? And the series is long and big, and it's important actually. It's like I listened to a couple of those sermons, and they're amazing. I mean, the amount of things that God had provided for us to change is unlimited. We have an unlimited resources that can help us to change, okay? Then I started as like, okay, so let me start to Google it. Let me go the other way around. I'm not just going to listen to one of the old sermons, then translate it in English, put it in slide, and we're good, right? So I decided, okay, so I start typing in Google search. You know, when you're typing something and give you a list of suggestions, top searches for people. So I just start putting how to change. The first word that came up, yourself. Okay, that was the first thing in the Google search. Then I decide, okay, I'll take the first article from the search and let's go through it. Let's see how the word look at how we can do it if I have something within myself that I want to change, right? So they came up with 4 main questions, okay? So the main idea about how to change yourself, before asking, or actually before taking steps in changing yourself, 4 questions you need to ask yourself. Do you want to? Is it actually something that you want to do? Do you want to change? Or are you just satisfied with whatever your earthly life at this point? Or spirituality? Or in another word, worldly life, right? Or your work career, or your family, or whatever, right? Are you satisfied, or there's something more that you can dig in deeper to change? So that was the first question. Some of things to be considered when you're asking yourself this question: is this the direction I want my life to go to? Whatever I'm doing right now in my life, is it fine? Am I satisfied? That's one. Second, are the activities involved the way I want to spend my time? All the activities that I'm doing in my life, was a basketball, whatever. I'm gonna pick on you a lot, my friends in here, right? So, is it you want to spend much time doing this activity because it's aligned with your goal in your life, or you want to change this? Are the end result with the consequences that I like whatever is going to happen? Is that what I'm looking for? Without these, you will have a lot of trouble deciding to know if you want to change or not. Okay, and again, this is a Google article, right? Like this kind of like I don't know, it's like mindful thoughts or whatever, right? And whenever you're searching for this thing. So that's the first question. Right now, we're not talking anything spiritual so far, right? I'm just going through the article that I found. So, do you want to change? That's one. Second question, can you? That's even harder. Because the first one, it's just a personal determination. Do I want to change? Am I have really something that I want to change in my life, or I'm good? Second one, can you? And in this one, I'm asking myself a bunch of questions again. Do I have the ability to make that change? I'll decide tomorrow, I'll do this. I'll start tomorrow. I want to change my career tomorrow.
Well, how do you know if you want to change?
After I'm done with the article, you will know. Once I'm going to switch to the spiritual topic, spiritual aspect for it, because it's not just do I want to change career or not? Do I want to change my car or not? Do I want my kids to wear better than what they're wearing today? This is not the idea. It's way behind this, right? This is the physical appearance, which we're going to go across. So do I have the ability to make this change or not? Do I have enough tools within my hand to do it? Like, I want to buy an awesome car tomorrow? Do I have enough funds to buy this car? Or it's just a desire in my mind? Do I have the time available to do this? And Mike can start telling you, and Ray and myself, we can tell you we have enough time to be involved in more services in the church, right? Don't lie. So the thing is, do you have the time available to do that change? Because sometimes we're scrambled with a bunch of tasks in our life. Like we don't have enough time even to think or pause. What am I doing? Is this what I want to be or somewhere else? Sometimes I don't even have the chance to think about this way. Do I have the support? Sometimes also, or like most of the time, to be changed, you need to have support from people around you, right? It's not just gonna be, I decide to change and khalas, I'm gonna live in the world my own way and I don't care about anyone else. Again, it's not gonna work this way. I must be able to answer all the past questions with yes. If no, so I cannot change, right? And again, right now I'm making a generic statement of changing. I didn't say what type of change or to which direction or whatever, right? I'm just a generic change in my life, right? If no to any of those questions, I'm digging deeper in my life. Okay, so now I'm just trying to get myself unsatisfied with my current situation without taking any steps further, right? Why don't I believe in this? Is there something about the situation I can change so I can accomplish what I want to do? Who can help me? What sacrifices can I make? I need to do something. It's not like I'm gonna change, I'm gonna sleep, wake up in the morning, I'm a different person. There is gonna be sacrifices in between. In the middle of that process of changing, there will be some sacrifices, right? Regardless of whether other people think I can change or not, I need to pursue what I want to do. Sometimes you will see people having negative impact around you and they will say, yeah, man, and you're never gonna change, no one changes. Whoever grows in something is gonna keep going on. If you're a bad kid, you're gonna continue to be a bad parent. If you're a good kid, yeah, you're gonna be a Abuna one day, maybe go to the monk, be a monk one day, maybe having something good in the church or something like this, right? So people have sometimes, like most of the time, a big, huge negative impact. And there is like a bunch of quotes back in Egypt about like how whatever you grow up on, you're never gonna change when you grow up. And you take people by their appearance. And the appearance is reflecting what they're doing in their life and all this kind of negativity and the impact on our decisions in our life. Third question, am I actually going to do it? Will I change? Okay, so the difference between this one and the very first one is like, do I want to change? Is this one now, it's a personal determination. I am taking steps to change. Okay, this is the big word about it. Am I going to make the sacrifice? Can I do it without encouragement from people around me? Because sometimes I might not have anyone around me to help me doing this change. And am I willing to endure long enough to see the results? Because again, it's not a matter of hour or minute. It's going to be over a period of time. And if I have the personal determination to accomplish my goals and make change, there is only one more question to consider. Can anyone of you guys expect it? Anticipate? What should be the next question?
Do you believe that you can?
No, I'm still in the Google search article, right?
Oh, okay.
So, what would be the last question to ask if I want to change and I can and I will change? What's going to be the next logical question should be?
Why do you want to change?
Huh?
Why do you want-
now? That's in the very first beginning.
What's the first step?
When?
When?
When
Yeah.
you're
Awesome.
supposed to take action.
When you're going to start? Okay?
Mm.
If your answer is yes to all the previous questions, it's very simple. So it's right now, right? Because delaying the start of the process is going to make the process take longer, or it might not even start it. Okay? And you guys can all look at it from work perspective. Whenever you have something in the queue, you put it, oh yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. So that tomorrow is not coming at some point, right? So let's switch now to what we having with our God, our relationship with God. Because again, all of us having bad habits, sins, something I want to change in my relationship with God, right? There is something. Definitely there is something. No one is perfect, right? So there is something that I want to change in my relationship with God, right? Have you ever asked yourself these questions? Like, have you ever came across a situation happening in your life where your sins start affecting your lifestyle and something severe happened, and then all of a sudden, hey, dang it, I should have changed. Why I'm doing this? Why I'm this person? Why that other person, friend of me, made the right choice and I'm doing the wrong one? Yeah, I can make bets that we all have been through that question at one point in our lives. Whether today, yesterday, 20 years ago, 15, whatever, right? At some point, I personally have passed through this. It's like, I made a wrong decision and then I was like, why Mike is doing a better decision than me? We have been in this for forever, right? Like the friends that I was growing up with. Sometimes you get jealous from people doing the right decision, right? It's like, that's if you're stopping, pausing, and it's like, why I didn't do this? Why I cannot control what I want to do, right? So, do you want to change at some point? Yes, we all ask ourselves this question in our relationship with God. Have you ever imagined or dreamed of a changing habit or a bad sin that's happening within your life? I mean, it shouldn't have been a question mark. It should have been like a statement that we all had imagined or dreamed of one day of changing something in our life and our relationship with God, right? Does anyone have any objection or saying no to this statement? Anyone?
It's when you have a beloved son.
If you have a beloved son, yeah. Okay, so again, with our relationship with God, sometimes you're being jealous from people doing the right decision or making the right choices, and sometimes on the other hand, okay, today I want to change. I have a sin that I want to quit on, and we're gonna go across the process of doing this or changing, right? But the thing is, the same thing that I said earlier, that sometimes we need people around us as a sort of encouragement to help us through the way. Sometimes the people around us might be a negative impact. They were like, yeah, man, you don't want to go to that place? Man, what are you talking about? We've been there like several times. Why are you not joining us today? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to drink? Yeah, we're all having fun, right? So sometimes people gonna be one or the two severes. Sometimes they're gonna be the encouragement, which is gonna be rare, or like, right? I mean, I'm being honest at this point. You're gonna find few people that encourage you in the right way. Most of the time, you will find people having a negative impact, trying to have you digging deeper with them, right? It's like, yeah, come on, man, let's do it. Why you are backing up from this, right?
I have a question.
Sure.
So, you bring up a really good point. Well, sometimes I wish my son wasn't here, but for me to ask this question. So,
okay, yeah.
So let's say, you know,
dictating friendship on kids.
No, it's not that. It's you know, he is involved with what I would consider great kids.
Yeah.
And some of those good kids may go and start hanging around with some bad kids, and they get involved in, let's say, drugs and things like that. Okay. Are you doing the right thing by just steering away, or trying to, if you believe in those principles and values and saying, hey guys, that's not the right thing, and trying to change them, or you're just like isolating yourself and you're going to go in a different direction? I mean, shouldn't you have an impact on them to get them to change? It should be a responsibility.
It's based on your personality. If you're a leader or a follower, okay? If you have been raised up in a way that you're following what's being told around you, even if you try to have a good intention of having a good impact on them, they're gonna drill you down, right? Because you're gonna be just, okay, you guys don't want to do it, okay, so I'll just gonna be with you. I'm gonna keep hanging around with you, and yeah, I'm not gonna fall down. I can control my actions. I can control my mind. I can control my choices. But if I'm a follower, I might fall down. I will fall. But, and developing a leader, it takes a time, right? So yes, I can have an impact by telling them, hey, you know what, guys, this is wrong. Simple.
And it doesn't have to be something as extreme as drugs. I mean, we have that in our church here today, where there's kids that are great kids, but we're all human, they fall. So what I'm trying to say is, how do we develop the kids around our church to become better leaders and to be able to step up and say, no, what you're doing is wrong, and instead of just isolating them? You see what I'm getting at? I mean, it doesn't have to be the extreme sense.
I understand. So, Ray.
Okay, so I think part of helping keeping the focus on where is God is by are you serving in a way that if you're saying, okay, I'm focused on God, so it's putting your faith into action. But if you're just saying, okay, I understand God, and you're saying, okay, but I just want to enjoy my life, then you're not really living the faith.
That's what I'm getting.
So if you're saying, okay, I want to understand God, that's good. Everybody knows a lot about God. Okay, we can know about the entire Bible. But there are people that don't have a relationship with God. So the only way to have a relationship with God is doing things with God. So
And taking action.
and taking action. So if you're taking steps that are doing things that God is the center of it, then it's okay. If God's not in the center of it, then why are you doing it? That's the question I'm always asking myself. So
Yeah. You wanna add something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, coming from a person who's neither in your position or as young as your son, but somewhere in the middle, and like, you know, going through all the life circumstances and, you know, the different stages of, you know, from teenager to young adult, and going through all the different, you know, stages of what you wanted to do and trying to have more fun and whatnot. I think it comes down to, well, how confident are you in like your teachings at home and how well you raised your kids? Because no matter what happens, like it comes back to us being all humans. We all at another time fall and we will stray. No matter who you are, you're gonna stray. But if your teachings and your stronghold are well, and if you continue to build on that, you should have faith that your children will come back to that eventually. Now that doesn't mean, you know, completely letting them loose, but it also doesn't mean, you know, controlling every aspect of their life. Because at the end of the day, going back to leadership, if you want them to be a leader, you have to let them make decisions. And unfortunately, it's human nature that we learn from our mistakes sometimes. And it doesn't always have to be that way, but you can't expect someone to grow, especially grow with God, if they can't make any of their own decisions. Like God gave us free will.
Yep.
right.
And he gave us free will for a good reason, you know. And so that's why when it comes back to being a parent, I mean, I'm sure it's hard. I have no idea how hard it is. You know, I'm not a parent, but going through, you know,
It's
my
hard.
personal
Trust
life.
me, it's hard.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can
That's
imagine
the-
it. I know
all the
how hard it was for my dad growing up. So I can only imagine. I'm a very
What goes
thick-headed
around comes
person.
around, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a very stubborn, thick-headed person. I'm the worst. I'll admit to it. But you know,
Just wait.
I'm not looking forward to it. But I do firmly believe that it comes down to how well you raise them and how well, you know, how well that foundation holds. It just comes down to the foundation.
Okay, so let me add 2 points on what you and Mike just mentioned. So Mike, to give people better perspective on how they should making better choices, sometimes, yeah, I can lecture all day long. But, okay, once you walk out the door, you don't even remember who was standing there and talking.
Exactly.
Okay, so lectures is the least effective part in the administrative controls from engineering standpoint of view, right? If you want to put in the triangle, right? So anyway, this is one thing. But being a role model, that had a huge impact. Huge. Even not just saying sometimes people are not good in lecturing or giving lecture or giving topics or whatever, right? But you look at them, this is a good guy. I mean, I've never heard his voice talking. No, but he's a good guy. So he set a good example for the Lord Jesus through his life, through his action, through his choices. So that's one thing. Even if I cannot enforce a certain rule, or what I can do, if just by being a good role model, that might be a good point. That's one thing. The other, you know, guys, on Facebook on the walls, you keep seeing the feeds, and I have like a bunch of religious pages that I like. So I have a bunch of these statements, right? So one of the things, I don't know who was the first one to say this statement, but the decision where to go or hang out with people, or if you want your family to go a certain place or whatever, it's simple. It's simple rule. Would you take Jesus with you to that place or not? Not, don't go. Simple, period.
So basically just according to this society, we're basically sit at home.
No, that's not. No, that's not what we do.
Jesus went to the sinner's house
Yeah.
and ate dinner with all the sinners.
Jesus talked to the Samaritan woman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He went to the sinner's house all the time. He went out looking for the lost sheep. I mean, and he taught us this, right? So you can take it to the extreme, and again, Antonio took it to the extreme. Everyone is taking. You might take one statement, one scripture from the Bible, and live by it. And actually, if you did so, you did something good. It's not bad. Like if you decide, I want to keep myself, so I will stay home. Stay home.
I mean, just to add to what he
I know it's
said,
hard. I mean,
but just to add to what Amir is saying, I mean, if you're gonna go to a sports bar to watch a game, well, everyone there is drinking, right?
Yeah.
But you're still gonna go, but you're not gonna engage by drunkenness.
Yeah.
But you're still there. So I'm not saying stay home.
Drunkenness or drink?
Drunkenness and drunkenness, but drunkenness
depends on how
depends how well your
tough
team
the
is
ball.
doing.
No,
We played the
again.
Chiefs today. It was my being bad.
Well, it was the statement that I read, and I think it's applicable,
I
right?
think it's more of a paradox or
Maybe you can take it this way if you want to, but my point is, again, you need to lead your actions with the people around you. You don't let people control what you're doing. That's the big word that I'm trying to go for. Because again, if you start being a follower, you will follow. Whatever, most likely is going to be the wrong thing that's happening. Because, I mean, it's obvious, right? So, this is whenever we're talking about the negative impact. I thought that I'm going to take like 20 seconds long. Okay? But the thing is, in Philippians, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's the end deal for us as a Christian. This is what's the baseline that we're going from, right? This is our foundation. That's the benchmark we're starting from, right? Through Christ, I can do everything that I want to, right? Of course, if it's in the godly way, not in the wrong way, and then, hey, God, help me stealing something. Okay, doesn't work, right? So we can talk about examples from the Bibles all over the place, since Genesis all the way through the whole Bible, till picking on people that had changed. Okay, and I'm just gonna go quickly through a couple of them. Moses, he killed someone because he had self-temper issues, right? He couldn't control his temper, and later on, he had been called one of the most patient persons in the whole world. Like, you're talking to God and you're getting the commandment and you're going down and people had made a golden calf. Are you guys kidding me? What? Come on. I'm getting for you what you guys asked for. And you guys just fall again? Imagine yourself in that situation. You have been doing something extremely good for like hour. I'm not going to say like a day or 2 or 40 days.
Who was fasting for 40 days?
40 days. I'm giving us the example. Imagine you're doing something good for 1 hour. You have been cleaning this room for 1 hour. And a little kid that's supposed to come in this room later on after you guys came inside with a muddy foot. Exactly. Nina's gonna hang him in the fan, right? That's my first intention, by the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not picking what he's saying. But again, imagine Moses coming down after fasting 40 days and 40 nights, and he's holding the word of God with him. Guys, I get you what you guys are looking for, and all of a sudden, you guys are in the complete opposite way, 100% opposite. Again, you guys can imagine if this little kid is going in. You guys are gonna hang him somewhere, right? Somewhere. So that's Moses, and it's all about prayers and his relationship with God, right? Peter, we can again this slide. I can keep building in this slide for forever. Peter have called himself, "I'm a sinner." God used him as one of the first early disciples that brought people back to him. Although Peter was like have low esteem in a way, he's like, "Hey God, get out of my boat. I'm a sinner. I don't deserve this." Right? He turned out to be a leader with the very first sermon after the Pentecost. He got like 3,000 people with just his first sermon or first preaching after the Pentecost. Paul, another huge example. This guy who was actually attacking the believers. He was attacking the guys that follow Jesus Christ. Right? With God's action on him touching his heart, whatever the action was, however it was, he became one of the most important apostle in the whole history, right? Like the word of God wouldn't have reached some places if Paul didn't go to this place. I mean, it would have. God would have figured a different way. But what I'm saying is, Paul, he completely changed, right? The last example, Zacchaeus, tax collector. Now all of a sudden he's a bishop of Jerusalem, right? So you guys can see people are changing from extreme to extreme. Sometimes we're like, yeah, we're good. You know what? We're good. I don't have something that's severe in my life. I'm just gonna go confess to Abuna, get the blessing. I'm done. Go my way. Then I'm gonna come back again. Hey, Abuna, I did the same thing last time. Okay, go, come back. a month later, 2 months later, a year later, depend on how often you go, right? It's like, hey, Abuna, oh man, I'm a sinner, I'm a weak person, I just did it again. So you guys can imagine someone like Moses killed actually someone out of lack of patience. Now God put him in the image as like he's the most patient person on the earth at that time. Yeah. So the thing, one of the most important thing that we need to go to, and let's go back to my early question when I was talking about that Google article. Do I need to change? Is there a need for the change? And actually, from what I understood preparing this topic, change is a must for growth, right? Imagine yourself 5, 6 years old, 10 years later, you're mid-high school, like senior. 10 years later, you're in your mid-career and work, and you might be in the peak of your work, right? Trying to find what you want to do. 10 years later, you're having a family. 10 years later, you're looking for your kids going to school and starting your cycle again. So the way you were thinking when you were a little kid, just running around the field, is not the same way that you're running around the bigger field. Not the same way that you're running about the ultimate field now, trying to control your life as well as your family, right? So change is a must. And you guys, I mean, Osama and Mike and Suzette, you guys can help me in that part. You guys have heard about, these little kids that, very hyperactive, and once they're growing up, they start becoming calm all of a sudden. Like after a certain age or after a certain period or certain circumstances in their life. So people change. That's the thing. And a change is a must. If people get stuck at the point, I want to be a kid, you're not growing up. Especially in your relationship with God. Because God gave every one of those 3 people different way of dealing with them. Right? So when you're a kid, do you love Baba Yeshua? Yes, I love Baba Yeshua. That's it. That's good. Right? Let's start understanding the sacrament. Do you understand what's communion? We need to respect the communion. We're good. Let's move. But when you're a youth, now you start setting an example, especially if you're serving, now you start setting an example for the little ones. Now once you're going adult and growing up, now you're teaching the youth how to serve the little ones. So you cannot just stuck at one stage in your life. A change is a must for your growth, for your spiritual growth with God. The problem in here, I'm gonna be picky on girls and ladies a little bit, right? Makeup. What's makeup is for? I mean, I'm a man, so I shouldn't even open that can of worms at all. I understand that part, right? But the thing is, people usually look for a physical appearance change. I want to change my shirt. I want to change my paint. I want to change my hair color. I want to change my makeup. I want to change something. This is the physical, easier change to do. Every one of us have a tendency to change. If you're going to buy shirts, you're not going to go, I like this shirt, the one that you're wearing. You're not going to buy 10 of it. And every night, this is not clean, so in the morning I'm going to wear a new one because I just like the style, right? No, you're looking for a different thing to wear on a daily basis, right? So on a daily basis, people are looking for change. But the hard part, they're looking only for a physical appearance, right? I want to change house. That's a change. That's still a physical appearance at some point, right? The problem with the physical appearance, it's easier. You're gonna spend a couple of $20 and think, I'll be a different person, right? I'm just gonna grow my beard in a couple of months. I'm gonna look like a different person. Then I'm gonna buy a shaver. Then I'm a different person. That's a physical change.
It's temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary. The thing is, it's easier to do. When you're looking for a physical change in your life, it's easier, and it doesn't have that impact. At the end of the day, you're the same person with the same characteristic, with the same faults or weakness, or the same strong points. You're the same person. You didn't change anything in your life. Going through one of the most harsh person or people in the whole Bible about how he changed from an extreme to the other extreme. Jacob. Jacob's word is like follower, or like he's following people's heel. That's the meaning of the word Jacob, right? Can you guys remind me some actions happened to Jacob before actually he became Israel? Some negative, bad action that happened from Jacob?
he deceived his brother.
Deceived his brother. He stole
And
his
father.
brother and father.
Yeah, he stole their inheritance.
Yes. So, in another words, that's what he did to his brother, right? He stole the firstborn rights from him with just food. He stole the from his father the blessing,
Blessings
right?
His brother.
Although it was not completely his setup. I mean, he was involved in the setup, but he's the one that at the end that get the benefit out of it, right? And when he went to his uncle, and he spent there like a bunch of years, 7 years to marry the first wrong daughter, then another 7 years to marry the one that he loved, then a bunch of other years to fulfill his due for his uncle. Then all of a sudden, things didn't work good between him and his uncle. Now I need to go back, right? But the problem in going back, when he was leaving his house with Esau, he was under the impression, or everything was under the, like, you come back, Esau's gonna kill you, period. So now he's between the two harsh ones. Laban, his uncle, is telling him, you need to get out of here. If you turn around and come back in here, you're dead. And the other side, hey, I know my brother, I stole like a bunch of things from him when I was growing up. So I'm dead either way, right? So that's a picture that just found for him when he was having all his wives and kids and sheep and all their goods when they're coming back to Esau, right? And in Genesis 32, it's an amazing chapter. Genesis 32, it sounds like, yeah, Genesis is full of stories, right? Like most Genesis, Exodus, and all these kind of books in the Bible, yeah, it's a story, so there's nothing actually to learn from it. And now we start teaching the kids, hey, you know, Jacob, he started doing this, and you start building something out of it, right? But in Genesis 32, I caught a couple of scriptures out of it. Then Jacob said, he's in the middle right now, he's dead on either side, right? O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. Go back. You believe in my words? Go back. That's what I'm telling you, right? And now Jacob, in the middle of the crisis, he just remember, hey God, you told me to go back. So why you are doing this to me, right? I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. So you told me one day that I cannot come back to my land. I'm going to come back to my family. But now, keep in mind, I'm having now a nation following me. I'm not just a single person, that's the same one that you were talking about back in the days. Deliver me. I have no other options. It's on you now. Deliver me. I pray from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him. And this is a key word in here, by the way. I fear him. Lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. I'm afraid of the situation that might happen. Hey God, it's on you. Deliver me. I mean, I don't have options. I ran out of way of thinking how to get out of my situation. For you said, I will surely treat you well and make your descendant as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. You promised me that I will stay alive and my kids will be as the sand of the sea. You promised me, right? And as a result, for all of a sudden in the middle of the crisis, he just left his family and his chiefs and all his things, and he went out, he stepped outside and he started talking to God, right? That's where he said all these prayers, right? And as a result, when he slept, he dreamed of what's going on, or actually he fought God. God appeared to him and he was fighting with him, as if it's a human being fight, right? So God responded to what he's saying, and at the end of that fight, Jacob told him, I will not let you go unless you bless me, right? So I called you, you're here with me, I'm not letting you go. I will stay with you till actually till I will receive the blessing from you, right? I will not let you go unless you bless me, okay? And this is a doctrine for us in our life, by the way, yeah? It's not just Jacob is saying something in Genesis 32:26. No. It's a doctrine for us. It's a canon for us. Like the thing that we get from Abuna most of the time. And he said, now God replied back to him, your name shall no longer be Jacob, because you're not going to be following people's heels anymore, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed. You survived. You had a fight with me, and you prevailed. So your name, you're not going to be follower anymore. You're not going to be following people's heel anymore. You know what? From that point, your name is going to be Israel, and you're going to be one of my holy ones. Until today, we pray for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all the time, and Jacob Israel all the time. So keep the story of Jacob in your mind, because that's what we're going to spend on for the next 10 minutes. 4 simple points in that story. The question is how to change. Okay? That how to change came across 4 C's. 4 things start with letter C. That's what happened with Jacob. And that's what can happen with anyone. And that's what we face on a daily basis. Okay? The first one is crisis. That obvious. I'm dead, left or right. So I'm in the middle of the crisis. The problem with crisis is we all pass through hard situation in our life, right? Losing a friend, getting in a relationship, didn't break it. Someone died. Whatever, you can name it. I mean, if I ask every single one of us, you guys can come up with a huge list of hard situations in your lives. And they have a huge impact on you. Whether today, yesterday, it's ongoing and might have an impact on you later on tomorrow, right? The problem is, sometimes it's like, hey God, this is not fair. I've been in the church today, so why on my way out, I was wrecked? It happens, right? Like, I know of myself that someone was coming to serve in one of the events that we had last year, and she had a flat tire and she got her car hit. So she was leaving the house with a good intentions, coming to serve God's kids. So, but all of a sudden, it was a little bit rainy, and she got wrecked, like rear bumped or whatever, and she got wrecked in a bad way. So it's like, God, this is not fair. And our definition and our word interpretation to the situation, this is not fair. Is it? I mean, I'm coming for a good sake. Why you let this kind of things happen to me? Right? This is the problem. It's like we keep blaming other for the crisis that we're in. The problem in here, crisis happens, it happened. Your whining or complaining is not going to change it. The thing is, the successful people in their lives, the one who were able to overcome any tribulation in their lives. Crisis, tribulation. They're the 2 words. Almost the same 2 words, right? Whoever is overcoming crisis in his life and just, let's move forward. Let's move forward. Let's move forward. This is the people that actually succeeded, either in a work environment or in a relationship with God, right? Look at it in a different way. God is using this crisis. God is not the one that introduced this crisis to me. God just let it happen. We need to keep this in mind. God is not a source of evil, right? So let's start out of this baseline. So he let this thing happen to me for a reason, because he wants me to change. Because sometimes people are not going to change by a lecture. Sometimes people need something big in their life to change. So look at it this way. So the crisis, God is using it for me to change back to his way. Okay? Genesis 32, number 7, verse 7. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. He has nothing to do. He was almost broke down. I don't know what to do. He was in the middle of crisis right now, right? He's dead either way, and he is having 12 kids, 4 wives, and he have like goats, and he have like a bunch of things around him, right? So with every crisis, that's the thing that we need to come up with from the crisis. With every crisis in our life, or something's going wrong in our life, something should change positively. I should not be just depressed or like disencouraged, or like God is not fair to me, so I veer away from his life, from his way, or this kind of things. No. Something needs to change positively. Maybe I was too much attached to a person, so when I lost this relationship with him, instead of being depressed, no. that relationship it was ended for a reason. Maybe I need to move forward in my life with something different. Maybe God is having something different for me. He's having for me a better treasure somewhere. Something like this, right? So with every crisis, something should change. Whining and complaining is against changing, because you're trying to stuck back in your comfort zone. Whatever was happening with me, I'm fine with it. So I'm just gonna stay with that. I'm just gonna stay there, right? This is what actually whining and complaining, because hey God, why did you get me in here? Why this has happened to me? I was fine in here. Okay, and blaming others, like unlike Jacob actually blamed himself. Hey God, this is happening. I know it's happening because of what I did back in the days. So he took the blame on himself. But I want to proceed with you. Now it's so funny because I was just telling Suzette earlier. I wanted to know how long you guys give these topic in here. So I went on the Facebook last week and I saw Suzette's topic last week, and she's talking about the eagle, and I was like, oh, I'm using the eagle. I'm using the eagle in my sermon. In my lecture. But the thing is, I'm just going to go quickly across it. I don't know how many of you guys were here last week. So the big problem, one of the big things about the eagle, he's preparing his nest on the top of a high hill or a high mountain, right? Putting her eaglets to grow up over there, right? Then at some point, those eaglets need to learn how to fly. So what the eagle do? Hey, get out of here.
Get out.
Yes. Right? So that's exactly what the eagle do to their eaglets. And they don't just let them drop, right? They fly around them. I found a video, but I couldn't play on the iOS for some reason. But anyway. So it's the big eagle is flying around them so that if the eaglet didn't learn how to fly, it's going to be on top of them. They're going to put them up again, try again, and they kind of keep doing this. Look at this push as if it's the Christ in our life. And we're having the big eagle is beneath us, protecting us if we're falling. Right? This is what God is doing with us. And actually, that's what he said in Exodus 19:4. Right? I bore you on eagle's wing and brought you to myself. I will help you. And actually, when I was trying to search some stuff for the eagle, there's a complete book. The name is called The Push. And that's what the eagle is doing to the eagles. A complete book about just what the eagle is doing to the eagles, to get them to learn to fly. Right? It wasn't like a spiritual book, so I couldn't quote much of the things out of it. But again, this is the thing that God is doing for us. He is letting things happen to us. Not because He's unfair or unjust. That's not true. But He wants us to learn something from it. Right? So do not look for excuse. In Matthew 7:7, ask. That's the big thing. Ask, it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. You need to do something. Don't just be sitting in a chair waiting for God to change your life. It's not going to work this way. So what was the first C so far? Crisis. Second one, confession. And again, we can make a huge campaign about confession. Right? We can stand here talking days about confession. So I'm not going to spend that much time on it. Jacob, during his talk with God, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. He's confessing his sins in front of God. That was a huge step in his changing. The thing is with confession, sometimes we get sidetracked. It's like, okay, today Abuna Samir or Abuna Safir is walking by, he's my father of confession. So, hey, Ray, come with me. You haven't confessed for a while, so come sit and confess. I want to do this, right? Sometimes it's helpful. Some other times, you know what, I'm just going to go to Abuna, the same thing that I keep telling every time, then I'm going to go. So Abuna's happy, khalas, and that's it, and let's move forward. The problem with this, the stages of confession, it needs to start with you admitting the mistakes to yourself. You need to make sure that I know that I did something wrong. It's not just I'm going to tell Abuna so God can lift up my sins and I'm fine. No, it's the other way around. I admit that I did something wrong, then I talk to God, confess it to God in my prayers. God, please lift up this heavy burden out of my shoulder. And then complete the sacraments by saying it in front of a priest. So this is like stages of confession. You cannot start with the end. So you're just practicing a sacrament without doing the other repentance part in the confession. You see what I'm saying? It's associated with repentance. Repentance is not just a regret. Last time when I came here talked like 4 months ago, it was about mainly repentance and confession, right? The big thing about repentance is not a regret. It's like, oh, I'm sorry that I did that. Okay? And you're sorry, what's next? It's like, I'm gonna quit it. Now we're talking, right? So this is the thing. It's not a regret. It's a desire not to fall again. This is the big thing about confession and repentance. It's a desire not to fall again. Because if my heart is the same, so what? So why I'm going to confession? Just to practice a sacrament? Everyone practices a sacrament. But did I change? Did I quit something? That's the big question. The thing is in confession, and sometimes it happens, you go to Abuna in the middle of the confession, and you start giving yourself excuses why you did this sin. Hey Abuna, you know what? This has happened. I was in the middle of this, so I couldn't stop, so I did so and so. You're coming with an excuse already. You're blaming someone else for your own mistakes. No, I did the mistake. I choose to do the mistake. Right? So far, crisis. And what's the second one?
Confession.
The third one, commitment. And this is also very tough one. Do we? Yeah, my English is not my first language, right? I pull that excuse most of the time. Thanks, right? So, how many times we have been to a confession and then Abuna tell us a kanun that we need to follow? It's like you need to do this metanias this amount of times a day, or you need to read this book, or you need to go and do this and do that. How many times we actually followed what Abuna is telling us? Never. Thanks for the honesty. How many times do we even remember what Abuna told us by the time we're walking outside the door? Never. So this is lack of commitment. I'm not picking you up. I'm the same. We're all in the same pot, right? So this is a lack of commitment. There was a story between two monks in one of the monasteries, and one of them were telling the other, "Hey Abuna, do you get anything from the confession?" He was like, "A lot." He was like, "What do you do?" "I go to the confession every time. I almost go to my father's confession all the time with the same sins again." He was like, "Okay, here's what I do. Whatever he tells me, I consider it a scripture that I need to follow to the point. He tells me do 50 matanias a day, I will do 50 matanias a day. He tells me read this book on a daily basis, I will read it. I will not even question it or negotiate the things that he's requesting me." So the other father, of course, understands what he's missing in the confession, the commitment. This is a huge thing. The promise toward yourself. Again, okay, I gonna change, I gonna quit on something. So sometimes God gonna put me across the crisis. I need to confess it, but now I need to have a commitment. Commitment on quitting things. Like anyone that, I don't know if you guys came across a bunch of stories about people smoking, right? And once they take the decision to quit smoking, it needs a lot of commitment for them to follow that decision. A lot, right? Because it's like, yeah, I want to do it again, right? So the promise toward yourself. At some point, you will fall down again. But the successful person is to stand up quickly and keep going back again to the track. Okay? It might happen for the withdrawal. Step up again quickly. Do not just quit. It's like, yeah, I did it again. I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna quit. That's it. This is not the way.
I think that's ideal from setting that stage on early in life. Not later in life, because once you learn the importance and significance of commitment at a very early age, whether it's participating in athletics or studious, wanting to get that A to get you into the next school and so on and so forth. Give you an example. I mean, everybody that wants to get into pharmacy school, dental school, or whatever, if they have it in their head that that's what they want to do, that's their trajectory in life, Let's say they don't pass that first test.
Mm.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take it again. I'm going to take it again. I'm going to take it again.
Like the SAT tests and all these tests, yes.
Because if you just said, oh, you know what? I didn't get my medical college admission test. I didn't make a good enough grade on my DCAT or PCAT or MCAT or whatever. It's easy to say, okay, I'm going to go a different course in life. But if you're determined this is the path you want, this is what you truly want, I think you need to learn to push yourself beyond the first failure.
Yeah, you will fall. The thing is, it might happen, and actually it will happen at some point, that you might fall in the way that you're trying to take a new way in your life. There will be a bunch of
all the time.
tribulation in your life, or tribulation in your life. But the thing is, step up quickly and don't quit. That's the thing.
Recognize.
Do not quit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do not expect, another thing in that part, do not expect quick results. It's like, okay, so I listened to this sermon, and then all of a sudden, starting tomorrow, I will pray 7 prayers from that day. It's never going to happen. You will be lucky if you start to lose once in the next day. Okay? So the thing is, do not expect quick results, because it's not going to happen. This kind of quick results, you're deceiving yourself, trying to find these quick results. In Psalms 92, those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the court of our God. Consider yourself a plant, and this plant is not going to grow up for a tree in a day, or 2, or 3. The same amount of time it took you in your life to accumulate a habit or a sin, don't expect to quit it in a day, or 2, or a month. It might take you a longer time to quit, like in a habit or in a sin.
Can I comment?
Sure.
So, but it's also in the course of God. So you
Yeah,
can't
of
say,
course.
I didn't pass a certain test, or you failed. But you have to also evaluate why. Maybe I was spending too much time with my friends, or I wasn't, focused on. I was watching movies or whatever. So you have to look at what was causing you to fall to begin with, right? So if spending time with a certain person leads you to saying bad words, or watching too many movies is wasting time from you accomplishing that task. So it's also in the course of God. You have to be with God and honest that God is with you, but at the same time you're doing the right steps.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
you can't say, oh, I fell, and you just keep falling. You're like going in a circle then.
So when you're saying step up again quickly and don't quit, you need to evaluate. There should have been a statement in here saying, evaluate why did you fall.
Yes.
So you don't keep repeating the same cycles
Right.
over
Otherwise,
and over.
you just
It's going to be a non-stop cycle.
Right.
The thing is with commitment also, it needs hope, because sometimes you need God with you to help you in your commitment.
Yeah.
It needs hope, because you will fall. During your course, you will fall. But with God's grace and hope, you will stand up again. Do not rejoice over me. This is one of the famous things that we keep saying all the time in the church, right? Do not rejoice over me, my enemy. When I fall, I will arise. When I sit in the darkness, the Lord will be a light to me. So God is helping me in my way. So remind me again of the 3 C's.
Crisis,
Crisis,
commitment.
confession, and
Commitment.
commitment. Last one, cooperation. Because you're not self-centered to change. You need an interaction with someone around you. And God is the ultimate that someone to help me changing. Right? So when I'm talking about cooperation, it's working with God so I can change. Working with God. This is the key word. I can say, yeah, having a couple of friends in the church, they're good and they're attending everything and they're good and I like the way they're thinking, so I can be hanging around them. That's fine. So they can have a good impact on you. But it's God, in God's hand, if you work with Him to get changed. Right? Peter, so when Peter was falling, whenever he didn't believe that he's walking the water, God reached out to him trying to hold him. Imagine if Peter said, yeah, I'm fine, I know how to swim. And he's not raising his hand up. I know it might sound that silly, that small example, but this is a simple example of God giving us all the grace that we can use. And all of a sudden, I decide to sink. I'm not working with you. I'm going to work with someone else. Right? In that situation, it was God the only hope for Peter not to sink. Right? Jacob stayed praying with God till the end. So from that point, when Jacob being Israel, from that point going forward in his life, he completely changed to the course of his life, right? And God did something to him, and this is one of the things that I couldn't even understand quite easy or take it easily or for granted. The sockets of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him.
Wow.
It might be a small statement in between. Yeah, it's fight, so yeah, people might lose a hip in here and there, a hand here and there. Something might get broken. It's a fight, right? So I was, again, the sermon that I was praying from. So when I was talking specifically about this, what happened? So Jacob, during the course of his life, he was using his foot to run away from situations, right? He was relying on his own strength to run away, skipping situations. So God, you're relying on your foot too much. You know what? I want you to be with me. So you're not going to be able to run that much again. That's what happened. So at some points, our sins might lead to a disaster around us. Like if it's get discovered, if I'm lying to someone and that someone knows that I'm lying to him, it's going to be a pretty bad situation, right? So sometimes this will happen. So in another word, God is telling me, hey, quit it. It have a bad consequences in you. Quit it. He will let sometimes your sins might be exposed to others. It might happen. It happened, might be to everyone at some point in your life. One of your mistakes might have been revealed to some of your friends, right? So God will take off whatever you were using to cover up for your mistakes, to get you back on track. Okay? In Psalms 147, he does not delight in the strength of the horse. He takes no pleasure in the leg of a man. Back in the days, during the wartime, people were relying on their foot and their hands. That's where their weapons. There was no cars, there is nothing, right? So people were relying too much on their legs. But that's not what God is looking for. Okay, God is looking for us to work with Him, not to rely on my physical strength. Rely on God only. So in cooperation, continuously meeting with God. Again, I have to go across the same cycle again. Attending liturgies, confession. I mean, the whole sacraments, practicing church rites the whole time. This is meeting with God on a constantly basis. You cannot find God by yourself somewhere else and it's like, yeah, I'm just going to talk to God while walking outside. I don't have to come to the church today. It's like meet with God, seek Him. Sometimes, yes, I don't have the time, or sometimes something happened, I cannot come on Sunday, so I'll pray to God in the car when I'm driving out of state or flying out of state or something. Sometimes it happens. But again, whenever you have the chance to come and meet with God in His house, please do. For with you is the fountain of life, and light we see light. The same thing like happened with Moses. Whenever he was praying to God, his face is like illuminating like a big lamp, right? So, recapping, what's the 4 C's? Crisis. Confession. Commitment. Cooperation. The problem against all 4 of those is overconfidence. I can pass through crisis with myself. I'm wise enough to pass through this tribulation. I don't need you guys. I do not do mistakes. I'm a righteous person. What kind of mistakes you guys are talking about? Why do I need to confess? I do nothing. I will not commit. I tried it before. I will not commit. Or I can change by myself. Those 4 statements is against the 4 C's that I just mentioned. And this is a sort of overconfidence. I rely on my own ability rather than relying on the Almighty One, that with His grace I can change something in my life if I want to. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So, as a practical thing out of today, pick on one thing in your life that you want to change. Keep it for yourself. Talk to your Father, confession, habit, sin, whatever it is. Pick on something that you want to change. And I will change. With the grace of God, working with God, I will be able to change. And that would be my last recommendation for you. And that's all.
Thank you.
I know I took a little bit long time,
It's very good.
but hopefully you guys remember the 4 C's.